Welcome to the Hard&Soft Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Yo, yo, yo. What's up, Hard&Soft Pro Wrestling Podcast Nation? It's the Big Softy here. I'm in the Soft Studios, and I'm going to throw it over to where I got a point here. Big Hard, the hardest guy I know. My shoot brother. What's up, Big Hard? How are you?
Yo. What's happening, Hard&Soft Nation? Yo, I'm doing fantastic. It's a beautiful day here in Pennsylvania. Just a week off of WrestleMania, and if we would have had weather like today,
Yeah, really,
for last week, I mean, this is tank top weather outside compared to hand warmers in your hat weather. But
yeah. But dude, Big Hard, when we look back on the Attitude Era, of course, like, man, wrestling was so good back then. You had the roster. When we'll look back at this era we're in right now, I think we'll talk the same way as we talk about Austin, Taker, Triple H. Dude, we have LA Knight, AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. Even on the other channel, you got a lot of good talent. What a time we're in, and what an era, the old Triple H era that we're in. But it's not all good, Big Hard, and that's what
before you go there, though, you know, I hold the Attitude Era in very high regard, you know, because I grew up and that was what I watched. But right now is going to be a time when you look back, and 20 years from now, you're going to be able to go ahead and rewatch this stuff. I mean, as much as I like the Attitude Era, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't good about it. Not to say that there's not good stuff. There's not stuff that's not good today, but you know, the storylines right now are just hitting really good. But yeah, the Attitude Era was just amazing, but they were just throwing things here, boom, seeing what stuck. At least everyone has storylines, but today the storylines are they're just there. But we're not here to talk about WWE today. Bring it back real quick.
Well, and Big Hard, that's why I had to wear my SVW shirt.
SV Dub.
That's right. SV Dub drew a bigger crowd than AEW Dynamite. So that's why.
Yeah, they sure did. Yeah, they did. And they had better food, better beverages, and better memorabilia, better merchandise. So, you know, you also get a bag with your purchase. So, but yeah, well, here we go. I mean, basically, we're here to talk about this CM Punk thing.
Another CM Punk thing. I think it was Sunday morning, you showed me an Instagram post on Instagram. I don't know which account it was. It wasn't the AEW account.
It wasn't anything reported.
And it was the Young Bucks are going to show the footage from Wembley Stadium from All In. Was it All In or All Out or whatever the hell it's called?
Yeah, All In. I think it was All In.
I thought it was not real. I was like, what? But as the gift of Tony Khan keeps on giving, it was for a shoot. So what were your initial reactions, Big Hard, when they first kind of started the rumblings of this?
Well, it's because of CM Punk going on the MMA Hour and doing that interview. And, you know, he didn't really hold back much. I guess there was an incident at All Out a year prior where there was an NDA signed where he couldn't talk about that specific situation. But that was a year prior to this situation that they're talking about, which was at Wembley Stadium, like you said. But Punk was asked questions about it, and he kind of just said what happened. Well, what we thought he said happened. And honestly, we just went by what he said. So when I heard that this footage was coming out, I almost thought, well, okay, well, then they have it that it went the complete opposite. Like,
right.
You know, Punk said that he choked Jack Perry, but I'm thinking, okay, well, they probably have video of Jack Perry like punching Punk in the face.
Right.
You know, and, you know, Punk being pulled away, you know, like being protected. But That was kind of my initial thought, or the fact that maybe it wasn't going to be real. It was going to be like faked footage, which
Right.
in my mind would have been way better.
Right.
But that's not what we got. We got the exact footage, no audio. And honestly, it was kind of like the lead up to it, though. Like, so the Bucks, they did a little vignette leading up to it. So, like, in the vignette, they, like, one of them said something and the other one was like, oh, wait, you can't say that on TV. And it was like, it rolled back and then cut. It's like, it was a pre-taped interview. So I don't, and like, we obviously know that. So I don't understand what they were trying. I guess I understand what they were trying to do, but it was like,
Totally.
We know this is pre-taped. So, and then they went ahead and showed the footage, and their whole reasoning behind it, Randall, is saying that that's the reason they lost their match against FTR. So, I mean, if this was the reason, I mean, this was like really nothing. This is absolutely
right. And everyone knows the situation, right? I mean, you had I don't think a lot of people know this. When Punk debuted on Rampage in 21, right, in Chicago. What a moment. And the whole world
awesome,
of professional wrestling was thinking that this is something that we'll never be able to see again. But AEW created such a dysfunction and such a they basically drove a 18-wheeler into the set of the WWE that was stale and kind of boring, and you couldn't pay anyone to sit through a 3-hour Monday Night Raw, right? And they disrupted the whole industry and created this movement of ECW-like, right? And jolted the world of professional wrestling. They have a lot to do with how good it is now. But okay, so then, when that happened, there's this YouTube series, which I know Big Hard you subscribe to, Closetly. All Elite or the Elite or whatever, and the Bucks and Omega are backstage rolling their eyes as 20,000 people are going bananas when Punk is coming out. So Punk comes in, and it's not exactly what he thought it would be, and Punk is a stubborn guy. Yeah. He's probably not the guy that is going to be handing out communion at church or something like that. You know what I'm saying? He's not he's an old school pro wrestler. Okay. But the Bucks obviously take, they don't like that he's the biggest star, and to them, he's making everything all about him. So they have the Hangman stuff, and I'm not going to go through it all, but there's a lot of stuff that should be getting handled by the big boss, and it's not being handled. And it's got that underlying tension. Then they create this separate show and Collision and separate the guys, which is, to Punk's point on Ariel Helwani.
He's right. Everything that he said about that, right? I mean,
right. Well, and on Ariel Helwani, and this is just, our opinions are kind of just what we're seeing. And you saw Punk get on Helwani, very calm, cool, and collected, recounting what Ariel Helwani is asking him. And again, when they said that they're going to air this footage, I thought exactly like you. Okay, well, CM Punk must have been working something, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is. They got,
I thought they're going to embarrass him.
Embarrass him bad. And I use the term, they better be showing Punk getting bent over, right? That's what I thought. So I'm like, oh my God, they're about to really do this. Now, hindsight being 2020, I listen to Cornette and I laugh at it. I didn't know just how stupid Tony Khan is until this happened. Now I know what Cornette has been saying this whole time is 100% a shoot. How can you? I just don't even understand what you're thinking. Like did no one tell him? Did no one in the back tell him, "Hey, man, this is not a good idea"?
I mean, I don't know. Then you see reports that it's like, oh, Dave Meltzer says, oh, the Bucks didn't. This wasn't their idea. Well, if it wasn't their idea and they didn't like it, they wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? These are the guys that they're not going to do it if they don't want to do it. So I just don't understand what they thought they would gain from it. And really, they didn't gain anything because it just, and yeah, there's a small percentage of people out there that, yeah, and I agree. Like, okay, yeah, you can't just go around smacking people, choking people, punching people in a job. All right. Like if I would do that at my job, I'd probably get fired. But then again, this is professional wrestling. There is some kind of leeway here. You know, it's like at a hockey game. You know what I mean? You see the players get into a fight. They're not getting fired for getting into a fight during the game. But anyway, this wasn't even that bad. Like as if Punk like beat the crap out of this guy. Literally, it was like a 6-second scuffle. Samoa Joe stepped in and pulled Perry off. And like this whole thing where it's like, you know, Tony Khan was saying that he was scared for his life. Well, you know, that's kind of ridiculous. But now I think that's probably just something his lawyer told him to say. This was a reason to get Punk completely, you know, because you do have a contract in place, so you can't just fire the guy. But this is something, you know, I felt feared for my life. So now they can fire him. But they kind of just made Punk, everything Punk said was exactly what happened in that video.
Right. So the vignette before, pre-taped, I'm sitting there. I mean,
it was like cringy watching it.
They had me tuned in, right? I guess they had me tuned in, and I'm watching the pre-tape footage, and again, they make reference to a lovable guy like Jack Perry. Pump the fucking brakes, dude. Jack Perry is on your television on the pre-show getting suplexed into real glass and making this insider internet wrestling comment that no one understands.
I love how there's one thing you said there. There's one thing you said there. Pre-show. Okay.
Instigating a situation. Okay. Obviously, Punk is back there watching this. Like, what the hell is wrong with this kid? Well, like, just being an idiot. Okay. So we get to the footage, right? They're gonna roll this footage. Now, the 3,000 people in the arena were watching and chanting for CM Punk. So they babyface Punk even before this footage started. Okay.
And those are the diehard AEW fans.
And no one, not even them, thought that this was smart.
There's really no one that really defends this online. The only people that defend this online are like these, like I don't know. This is a warning. People are gonna get triggered here, but it's just like these basement dweller, Dave Meltzer loving people. Because I mean, I've seen Kenny Omega just did an interview and he's talking about how at the one that they signed the NDA, he saved Larry, which was Punk's dog. And that he kind of agrees with the way that, you know, like, and a lot of them are saying that they felt like he couldn't step in because Tony Khan wanted to do it a different way. But Kenny Omega believes in, it's like, just get it out of your system real quick. We can shake hands and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's just kind of funny, you know, you see these people from behind the scenes and they're coming out and saying just things like that. Not that he's defending Punk or anything like that, but he's also not saying that Punk is completely wrong. And if this is all to bring Jack Perry back, what percentage of your audience is really invested in Jack Perry? Because honestly, you lost the biggest draw in wrestling, and you can be mad that he was the biggest draw in your company, but you brought him back after being gone for almost 10 years. You know, you had somebody. So instead, you get rid of him and you keep Jack Perry. I mean, secretly, I'm guaranteeing he's still on payroll. You know what I mean? He's out doing these matches under Tony Khan's letting him do it, but he's still on contract to AEW. And then he just shows up in Chicago with the Chicago flag with a Crimea River jacket on. I just don't understand, like, what's the upside of Jack Perry too?
None.
Where is the upside?
No.
So he comes back to AEW and people cheer like, yeah. And then next week it's fizzled out. Because I mean, right after that clip aired, I turned Dynamite off. And right before that clip aired, I turned it on right before it aired. And it was Chris Jericho in the back talking to Hook and Chibata, I think. And it was just like, oh, God. And then the next match was literally a 6-man tag match with Hook, Chris Jericho, and Chibata or something. It was like against like Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty. It's just like, oh, my God. It just doesn't make sense. Like, what did they gain? I don't know what they gained out of it. Like, the FTR promo, that was great. They came out. I did like that FTR promo. But instead of telling it, like, saying in the promo the Young Bucks, like, they should have been calling out Tony Khan.
But FTR is nowhere in the footage. Nowhere.
No.
So how are they the cause of this? Hold on, Chris.
Whoa.
So they, the Young Bucks.
Because they're friends.
Before they air this footage, they say, and there's respectable wrestling journalists that need an answer. Dude.
That's Meltzer.
Oh,
so you're wasting time on
Chris, what happened back in the day if Vince or the WWE heard that you were running off to the dirt sheets?
Oh, God, you're done.
It's not something to brag about that you're going and talking to all these stupid journalists.
Oh, we talked to Meltzer. No one cares.
It just clarifies everything that we've been saying and that Punk has been saying, that these guys just go right to the dirt sheets and right to the media and spread rumors and lies. And it's just like, I don't understand. Anyway, they roll the footage, Chris, they roll the footage. Now, the old school wrestling fan in me, right? First thing I pick up on is you just show Jack Perry and Hook that just went out there and wrestled for the FTW championship, the prestigious FTW championship. And now they're in the back 4 feet from each other. They just wrestled. They just fought each other. Now they're in the back toweling off, showing that it was all a joke, what they were just doing. They don't really hate each other. They don't really want to fight each other. Now they're in the back. They just went and worked, right?
And we know kayfabe's dead, but still.
Okay, and you also show CM Punk and Samoa Joe that are about to go wrestle. You just squash that because it's total bullshit because they're back there being friends too. Okay? That's the first thing I see. It completely baby-faced and proved everything Punk. It was to a T what Punk said. It was exactly what Punk said.
Exactly.
And Punk.
It was exactly the way he said it.
He whooped up on Jack Perry. It wasn't a fight, but it doesn't make Jack Perry look strong. It makes him look weak as hell.
And Punk didn't kick his ass or anything, but it still doesn't make Punk look bad. I mean, even if Punk got his ass kicked at this point, just airing that footage and spending time on it, Punk is honestly in the second hottest storyline going right now in WWE.
Why is
you know what I mean?
Okay, look, Chris, this is how you know that everyone back there just has no nuts, because Jack Perry just goes and spews his mouth. Everyone back knows what's going on. And now you have Punk right there. If I'm Tony Khan sitting there with my cans on, dude, as soon as they get face to face, I know what's about to happen. I'm the boss. I'm getting up and I'm saying, look, Punk, back up, okay? I'm intervening. And I'm saying, Jack Perry, you're going to meet my office tomorrow or Wednesday when we get to Dynamite. You're in my office because that was ridiculous that you would spend time on television that I'm producing and I'm paying for to say some stupid stuff and instigate a fight back here. You get out of here. Jack Perry, get out. I'll see you in my office on Wednesday. And I'm saying, Punk, I'm asking you right now to let that go. And if you need to talk to me, you talk to me in my office on Wednesday too. Go out there and wrestle and open up my show. I'll handle this.
Thumbs up there.
So they're in each other's face for about 10 seconds. And there's no audio, and who knows what Jack Perry says. Obviously, it's probably what Punk is saying is he said something along the lines of, if you don't like it, do something about it. He touches his hair, and Punk shoves him, okay? And Punk snaps. Now, let's rewind a little bit. How did Punk get to All In?
Yeah, on the train.
On the train because they didn't pick him up, okay? So there's that. So he's
already kind of ticked off.
He's a little cat.
I mean? And he probably had a good time, like we said. He had a good time, all the fans on the thing. But still, your biggest star, the biggest star of that event was CM Punk. What he was the champ going in, right?
He was the real champion. He never lost it.
Okay, but he beat Samoa Joe then too, right?
He did win that fight. He did win that.
Okay, so I mean, Punk left your company, and I get it that you made a new title because Punk left and he had to forfeit the title, but Punk was able to come back from injury, and you had this storyline with MJF versus Punk, champion versus real champion, but instead you have the real champion win on the way out. All right, he won that match on the way out. He left as basically the real champion, never actually lost it. And now you're showing this footage just to prove his point of everything he said on the podcast was true.
And the whole crowd.
I thought he was going to get proved completely wrong. I was like, oh man, Punk's going to look stupid. And yeah, he would have looked dumb. If all this would have been opposite, he would have looked dumb. And he still is getting a push. You know what I mean? WWE's not going to really give a shit. But the funny thing is too, like, I forget who it was, but somebody put a tweet out, like, or Grayson Waller, I think, put a tweet out saying, like, I'm going to air some backstage footage of us whipping people's asses or something like that. And, like, Dijak said, like, something about it's real glass. Now, I get they're trying to make this shit for Jack Perry, and that's good, but they could have done it, like, a better way. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't even need to show this footage. It just... And then, like, they show Tony Schiavone on the way back from the clip, man. And he's just like... and I don't know if that was on purpose or if he didn't know they were cutting back in time or if he was almost in his mind just kind of like, oh, man. You know,
it just
like,
proves Tony Khan gets easily irritated. He's obviously very sensitive about his product, and he spends a lot. I mean, I don't know if he green-lighted it because there's probably no control back there, but Ospreay went out. Ospreay went out there and cut promos on Triple H. And
I guess Triple H said something about him, but technically, I don't know if it was about him or not. What Triple H said on Pat McAfee.
It could have been. I mean, I don't know. It just.
But he says about grinding the boss's daughter. So I mean, now they're referencing Vince McMahon on their TV. You know what I mean? Which is not something you don't want to reference Vince McMahon on your TV. And I mean, that was 20 years ago. That story, even longer than 20 years ago, that storyline. And then he's talking about the grind. I'm on this flight from England to the US. Okay, on a first class flight paid for by Tony Khan. And you're talking about going back and forth. That's the grind. Triple H is talking about back in his day, like, I don't even know why they showed that, why they even did that. Will Ospreay said on another interview about 5-star ratings that he thinks it's crazy that Kurt Angle doesn't have a 5-star match and he's not as talented as Kurt Angle is. And hold up, back up for a second. Tony Khan has went back and copyright infringed people for posting the footage that he posted on Dynamite.
Why did you air it then? Why would he air it if he doesn't?
I heard Helwani made a video of the brawl out with CM Punk's commentator. It doesn't make sense to me, man.
And then at the end of it, Nick or Matt Jackson, whichever one it is, gets up and has scapegoat written on the shirt. But he gets up and it's not even in camera. You can't even read it.
He's just like, I don't get it. This is what I mean. How many Jack Perry fans are there out there? And I don't understand. Like, okay, cool. Like he's a good character. All right. But you're willing to alienate people because honestly, it just kind of makes people like not want to tune in. And then the rest of the show was kind of crap. And then It's funny, their main event was Samoa Joe versus Dustin Rhodes right after Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And they had blood in their match. I mean, why do you need blood in a main event of Dynamite? WrestleMania didn't even have one blood spot the whole time.
I thought Cody should have got color. I did.
But the funny thing is they didn't even need it. And that's why I like they didn't, because they already did the blood spot at the bus.
That's why I think you could have rolled it back. I would have liked that.
Are you excited for and like the Edge promo cut 2 weeks ago? Talk about I'm in the locker room and I have this person and this person and this person and this. It's like, oh God.
Well, and that's all
I
we
just
hear.
don't. Whatever.
That's all we hear from the AEW faithful. And look, I get it. Like your wrestlers, I get it. But if I am a GM of a basketball team and I draft first round I draft the best 3-point shooters to my team and I start all 5 3-point shooters. No one rebounds, no one passes for assists, no one runs plays, and they all just jack threes up. How many games are we going to win? It's the same thing. You have all these great wrestlers that are sitting the bench. They're not doing nothing. And they just go out there and do matches for matches. It's not going to – it's obviously not – if you like that, it works for you, right? But it's obviously not working for the towns that they run shows in because they don't draw – I mean, look at Collision. I mean, you think it's really fun to go to a Dynamite or a Collision right now? It's
Actually, I just sent you a thing. July 20th, it looks like Collision's coming to Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I'm guessing that's probably going to be at PPL Center. Now, I know you're not going to travel for it, but I'm probably going to go just because it's.
Well, how many seats does PPL Center have? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean,
is it like a 5,000?
It's a minor league hockey. I'd say 5 at the most, but maybe not.
That might be good. That's what they should run.
5.
That's what they should.
But I want to touch on one thing. Now, I know like we were just at WrestleMania weekend and it was WWE, this and that, but for the 4 days that we walked around, I saw, I don't know how many wrestling shirts, how many wrestling titles, how much wrestling memorabilia. And I can remember seeing 2 AEW shirts. And that's not really saying anything because everybody there's for WWE, but I mean,
well, but I'm not one
out of 70-some thousand people, I didn't see anybody wearing AEW shirts, and the 2 people I did would be the 2 people that would probably dislike this video right now.
I'm not one of those guys that wants to like put WWE versus AEW, but AEW is doing it to itself. It's doing it.
I know. I'm just proving one point,
It's more frustrating because they could really challenge. They could really put on a great live show and a good TV show if they
at the 2,300 arena type places like that. I mean, I would totally go to any. Don't do Dynamites in pay-per-view type arenas. Just cut it back a little bit. But this was just a bad move, I think, in general. I don't know if you agree with me on that. I just think it was just wasn't good. I don't think they're going to gain anything from it.
It came off like a fart in church.
There you go. And on JR, I had actually, before we started this video, I just pre-ordered JR Book 50, his new book that's coming out. It's 50 chapters, 50 short stories, he said.
Oh, so, nice.
I love me a JR book. His last couple books have been great. So
I
suggest it.
I think hopefully with some time, AEW can get out of this. Going forward, I'd like to see them book smaller shows in smaller arenas. I think it would make their product better. I'd like to see Tony Khan back off a little bit and give his pencil to some guys like Danielson and Edge that might be able to create some good story and put on some better booking and get some better alignment. But on Danielson, I got to talk about Danielson because remember, this was clear footage that made us really have to fire CM Punk.
Oh, God, yeah.
And Danielson's hold on, Chris. Danielson is a wrestler. He's not a lawyer. He's not a guy that works in an office. He's been around everybody. And this was clear footage that you had to fire CM Punk. How about Jack Perry instigating all of this? How about
it was almost like
not handling it? How about Tony Khan never intervening, never being the boss, never getting these 2? Look, Chris, do you understand what they fumbled? They could have had me and you spending $1,000 to put on CM Punk versus Kenny Omega at Wembley. That could have been it. That would have drawn money.
Oh my God.
Instead, this is what we get: a fart in church.
A fart in church. I'll throw some JR seasoning on that.
Yeah, you will. All right. Well, I've never been more excited for a Jim Cornette drive-through or experience podcast. That's all I've been saying this whole week. He finally dropped it.
I listened to his it was like a 20-minute clip I listened to on YouTube today while I was at work. They couldn't
have been more ridiculous.
And one other thing, like I think Jim Cornette said this. It's almost like Jungle Boy looks over at Tony Khan sitting there and then looks back at Punk almost as if like, oh, okay, Tony Khan's right here. I'm going to say whatever I want. Like, yeah, F you, Punk, whatever.
I love the comment on CM Punk. He goes, I thought I was doing the responsible thing.
By choking him.
Not punching him.
By choking him. Oh, that's so good.
And Jerry Lynn was in that we were just with Jerry Lynn. We should ask him.
Oh, my God. Oh, I didn't even think of that, dude. Didn't even think of that. But that was before they were going to air the footage.
Very embarrassing. Embarrassing. And of course, the Bucks and FTR will face off for the titles in a ladder match because the Bucks need that crutch. I
hope FTR wins, but I almost hope they leave and go back to WWE. I don't know. I mean, whatever. I want AEW to succeed too. But
I hope they can turn it around because there's not enough programming over on WWE for all of this great talent.
But this is what Tony should do. He should just say like, hey, come out with this. Like, instead of airing the footage, he should have done like a shoot interview. He should have went on MMA Hour and done his own shoot interview.
Yeah.
Just instead of doing it on his TV, like
right.
Go and do it like that. Then that'll draw people.
And I hear this too. This is what I hear too. I hear, oh, CM Punk can't let it go. Hold on, Punk has never talked about this. This is the first time he's talked about it. Since this happened, Chris, the Bucks have gone on and ran around the ring cheering. They've done all of Punk's moves. They run to the dirt sheets and talk about them. And then Punk comes out and tells the absolute truth about what's going on. And it's just...
And then
I don't know how you defend it. You can't defend it. You can't. You just got to say, we fucked up.
Mac and Cheese Meltzer comes out and says, I think the reason the storylines aren't sticking in AEW is because they're throwing so many at you at the same time. I'm like, I haven't seen really that many, but I mean, on that note, I do have a couple things to say. Well, two things in general. First thing, don't let the breeze blow you away. Shout out on a breeze. Second thing, I think Randall knows what I'm about to say.
I have no idea.
If you're not hard, you're soft. And that's why you don't mess with the final boss.
The final boss. And I'm no longer the biggest softy I know. I think Tony Khan takes the cake.
Oh,
just on today, I'm going to let Tony Khan be the big softy.
We'll send him a shirt.